Celebration time. It don't matter what part of the jewelry you come from. You da you and me da me. But guess what? All are we the one. See what I mean? Jump and shout all over the nation. We're breaking out with a new creation.
The cacao industry contributes significantly to the economy of the Toledo District. The Toledo Cacao Growers Association has been leading the way for cacao growers in southern Belize. Our Belize Watch team spoke with Chairman of the Toledo Cacao Growers Association, Justino Peck, and Manager Orlando Koch. We will have that conversation after we hear from our partners. Belize Natural Energy Charitable Trust, the Barry, Shell Belize, and the National Gas Company.
The Belize Natural Energy Charitable Trust, BNECT, celebrates 10 years of partnership with Restore Belize. Since 2012, the Trust has provided funding of over $401,000, which has positively impacted the lives of 118 students. The BNECT is Restore Belize's largest partner in the 4-year scholarship program that provides tuition, books, uniforms, tutoring, scholarship club membership, internship opportunities, and mentorship support. The Belize Natural Energy Charitable Trust, contributing to the education and empowerment of Belizeans.
We are the Barry, offering you great products, good service, and of course, the lowest prices in the entire country. Visit us in Belize City, Belmopan, San Ignacio Cayo, Orange, and now in San Pedro, La Isla Bonita. The Barry. Get more? Be less.
Shell V-Power, with 3 times more cleaning and friction-reducing molecules. Go well. Go Shell.
The National Gas Company Limited was born of the need for the country of Belize to have a marine gas terminal of its own, thereby securing supplies of critical cooking gas for a growing population. As Belize's population grew, the time came for a modern marine gas terminal that ensured safety, security of supply, and the requisite infrastructure for industry-accepted quality assurance now demanded by the people of Belize. In 2020, the National Gas Company Limited became a reality. The National Gas Company Limited is a $60 million public-private partnership where Belize's private sector would design, finance, construct, and manage a state-of-the-art national marine terminal facility and 2 complementary storage depots away from the coast. After 15 years, the National Gas Company would be fully turned over to the country and people of Belize at no cost to the taxpayer.
The National Gas Company of Belize, fueling Belize forward.
It don't matter what part of the jewelry you come from.
Okay, we are in the Toledo District, and it's always a pleasure, an honor, and a privilege to be in the Toledo District. So many things are happening here in the Toledo District, and well, what is Toledo most important, well known for? Cacao. The best cacao in the world is grown right here in the Toledo District in our beautiful Belize. And we are at the Maya House of Cacao. That's where we are. Now, exactly as to the location of the Maya House of Cacao, my good friend Paul Mahong is here with me. And we also have our hosts here at the Maya House of Cacao. But I'll let Paul do the introductions. Paul?
Thank you very much, Chief. We traveled from Punta Gorda, 18 miles on the PG San Antonio Road, to a community known as Cricket Trosa. It's just bordering Mofrodai village. And we are like about 3 miles out San Antonio village. And so we've come smack on to the Maya House of Cacao. We'll be learning about the magnificent history and other information from the officials here. So I will not go into that, Chief, but we have challenging weather conditions, but God bless, it will hold up for us to get this very historical and educational show together.
Well, thank you, Paul. I mean, thank you for arranging our shows here. I know you and Ava are always in contact with each other, so thank you so much for the wonderful arrangements that you keep on making for the show. My granddaughter Kylie, of course, is with me, and I have on my left here Mr. Justino Peck. All right, Mr. Justino Peck is the gentleman on my left. And Justino, what do you do here?
Rene, my name is Justino Peck, the chairman of the Toledo Cacao Growers Association.
Toledo Cacao Growers Association. The Toledo Cacao Growers Association is made up of how many members?
The Toledo Cacao Growers Association is made out of 1,100 members, but most of them are inactive. In total, for the district and part of Southern Creek District, we have about 700 active farmers who are actually producing cacao for the local and export market.
Even 700 farmers, that's quite a lot, isn't it? In my mind.
Well, of course it is, but still we need to grow the industry because at this moment there is a need to expand as we move forward to grow the industry for Belize, especially Toledo. Toledo does not have any industry at all, but we're looking at cacao will be the major industry for the people of the South.
And I'll tell you the truth, Justino, I love cacao. The darker, the better. 80% and above, right? I like the taste of it. You know, sometimes I'm told, how you like it? It tastes bitter and what have you. But to me, it's delicious. Cacao, and especially cacao grown here in the Toledo District. I specifically look for cacao grown in Belize.
Well, you're right, Rene. Cacao is something that has been used here for several years by the Mayan people of this area. Actually, in old history days, Mayas were the first and the Aztec to domesticate cacao and chocolate. They used to serve their chief with high dark chocolate, like what you like, Rene. And so I think we still have people who love to drink or eat dark chocolate. So that was the time then, those days, when the chief of the Mayas was served. They were served with dark chocolate drink. And I think that is to give them a motivation in their whole body system to operate and to have their mind clear into what they want to do. So basically the Mayas then also used grains of cacao as currency. They trade between product to another product by grains of cacao. So cacao used to be served as currency by the Mayan people of the past. And even up to date, the Mayan people who do traditional healing also use grains of cacao over sick people. So you can see that cacao in the past, where it originated, it has a very high value for the people who have grown it in this area. So up to the later part of the 1980s, when Belize started engaging in the commercialization of cacao in southern part of Southern Creek through the project called Tamp Vita Project, TCJ gave birth in 1986 through that project. And so that is for the organization to promote the production of cacao and market the product for its members. As it indicates, the mission statement of TCGA is to improve the socio-economic standard of living of our farmers through competitive and diversified system of production, which incorporates ecological practices. So that is the mission of the organization. The TCGA, as I mentioned earlier, gave birth in 1986. It always have a 9-member board of directors, which every year they elect 2/3 of their member and keep 1/3 for continuous purposes to promote the organization. So as it is, the Toledo Cacao Growers Association then was registered as not-for-profit organization. It is just a voice for the farmers who plant and produce cacao and export their cacao. But at this point in time, as we speak, we said we're at the Maya House of Cacao, which is a branch of the Toledo Cacao Growers Association that will generate profit. It's a profit-making venture, which in 2015, this was established here with a property of 10 acres that was purchased under the EU project-funded project with funds from the government of Belize as well. We haven't had this operational until 2017 when we came on board. It's a new set of board that came on board in 2017, where I indicated during my interview at the time by PGTV and as well as Love FM through Paul, I indicated through my leadership with my new set of board that we are venturing a different direction. Since 1992, 93, when we got our export market in the UK, we were exporting raw cacao beans, which end up being processed into Maya Gold chocolate in Italy and marketed in Sainsbury stores in England and other parts of England and also in the US.
Maybe even re-exported to Belize.
And then, yeah, it's even exported to Belize. So at this point in time, we are indicating to our farmers, our producer in the entire Toledo and South Stand Creek, and even whole of Belize, we are telling the people that very soon we will be venturing. And this is the direction that I indicated at the AGM when I was elected back in 2017, that we will take a different direction in going to do adding value to what we produce here instead of exporting raw product. So 5 years now, last year, we were able to ship 1 container load of semi-final product, which is referred to as nibs, to our buyer in the US. And this time around, very shortly, we're sending another container to that same buyer. And we are also shipping one very soon as raw product. So this is what we're doing. So later on, we will be telling you more about how we are going to venture into more final product later on at the end of our discussion.
Yeah, I'm looking forward to that. But what I've noticed lately here too, a lot of brands are springing up, local Belize brands of chocolate are springing up, and they all taste good. To me, the purest chocolate you could buy, and the nicest chocolate you could buy in the market is the chocolate that's produced here in Belize. And I noticed that the packaging, as we go along, the packaging is improving. The different brands are improving. So I elected to take the opportunity to congratulate all those who are really putting the value onto the product, so that we are exporting the finished product as against exporting just the raw bean and then re-importing it back as chocolate. Whenever I see a bar of Belizean chocolate and it's 70-80% and above, that's what I go for. But I notice you have a gentleman over here. Can you introduce me to him, please?
Rene, Orlando Cook is our manager for the Toledo Cacao Growers Association since we took back TCG in 2017. He became our manager. So we are working very closely together with him, especially me as the chair. I am almost a day-to-day meet with him to discuss the way forward for TCG. So I introduce Mr. Orlando Cook to our discussion now.
Thank you, Justino. And Orlando, let's look at you. Let's get to know you a bit. Your connection, you said you are the manager, right? Let me just walk around here. Sorry, granddaughter, let me walk around here and get to know Orlando.
Yes, good morning, Chief. Yes, my name is Orlando, as Mr. Peck indicated, and I'm the Managing Director for the TCG since January 2017.
So your duties here include, of course, coordinating with all the 700 plus active members?
Correct. Maintaining organic certification, communicating with the buyers, overseeing the daily operations of TCG, and implementing the strategy placed forward by the board of directors. As Mr. Peck indicated, that we have a new direction that we decided to take since coming on board in 2017, and that's our main job here.
Okay, your new direction. How far into your new direction you would say you're at? What if you were to break it down in percentage?
We're still at the early stages because the ultimate objective is for us to process all of our cacao locally and export finished products. So we are still in the early stages.
Like I was mentioning just now, there are some very famous names of local cacao products on the market. I take it that these people might be members of your association as well?
What happened now is that we have like 9 local processors in country. Going back to like 2007 when we had the first chocolate fest in 2007, 8 thereabout, we only had like 3 local chocolatiers at the time. So now we have 9, and that should tell us something, that the market here locally is growing. We have developed skills locally. We have more locals involved into the value added. So it's a good thing because most of these local processors buy their cacao from the TCGA, but some of them also have connection with the growers directly. So it's all about the story. So it's a good thing for the country to have these 9 processors.
Okay, but some of the processors don't necessarily grow their own chocolate, while some do, right? Some buy and some and process, but you have other processors. Some of them that I've spoken to that also grow and process.
Correct. Like Mr. Saki, he grows his own one, yes. But the rest, they would either buy from the TCG or from the other company, Maya Mountain Cacao.
Okay. Now, you said also that you check and make sure that the quality of the cacao is there. And how would you compare? For me, maybe I'm biased, but for me, Belize cacao is the best in the world. But do you all do such studies like comparing Belize cacao with other cacao around us?
Well, yes, we do some lab tests. We send our products for testing for various stuff. And like you said, our cacao is best compared to the others, especially those that are produced in like Ghana and so forth, because they are bulk cacao. We produce fine quality cacao. And the farmers here who are in the cacao production have that close connection with the farm. So it's a family thing.
And it's all organically done here in Belize, isn't it? Or you still have people using fertilizer?
There are some of the large growers that are using fertilizer and so forth, but like 98% of the cacao grown in Belize is organic by smallholder farmers. And these are growers who would have on average 2 acres.
Rene, when you talked about the different processor, not only that, in the early 2009, we had 7 different players in the industry as well who came and started buying cacao from members who were members of TCGA. But as it is right now, most of those buyers dropped out, and only 2 active buyers right now, the Toledo Cacao Growers Association and Maya Mountain. And we applaud that effort because competition is key. It's healthy. So without us, probably things have changed in terms of price. But because we're still there, we're protecting the interests of the farmer by keeping a stable price at the moment until we start this processing that we were talking about. Then until then, we can change the way forward for our farmers so that they can get more benefit. In terms of the processors, we acknowledge their work, and it's something good for the country because we need our product to be consumed locally. Yes. But for us, we will also be promoting that, but also we will be doing export, and then we want to have better equipment to process faster compared to those small producers, because then that will give us a better chance of competing in the marketplace.
Okay. And the idea is to have Belizean chocolate all over the world. Correct. You know? Correct. Okay. Mainly the EU, you're saying.
Yes.
All right. Well, we're standing up in front of your building, and so maybe we could go inside and see what we got, what you got inside. Is that okay, gentlemen?
Sure.
Yeah. Kyle, you ready?
Yep.
Let's go then.
Before we go into telling the people of Belize the different kind of cacao that we grow here, I want to just see what we have inside here. Right here, we can see we have sacks of cacao beans stored here.
Yeah.
And this is not our storage facility. Just because we just recently completed our storage facility, hence the reason we haven't moved this product to there. the main purpose of this building is to host the history of the cacao where it originated. If you can see to the background here, you can see a lot of depiction here, the introduction of where cacao came from, how the different logo that sits beside it. It will tell you more about what is it about cacao in this building here. That's the sole purpose of this building, is to attract tourism, agritourism, ecotourism, and generate some income through paying some fee to enter to listen to people who will talk about the history of the cacao industry here. And so that is what we have in this building, we should have in this building. So until we remove this and then we apply for that process with BTB, then we will start to do that operation here. Okay. So, yeah.
And the other reason why we have this bag stored here is a result of COVID, because during COVID we were unable to export and we were purchasing throughout the year, so we had to store all of our products. As Mr. Peck indicated, we were constructing our new facility at the time because we were trying to make improvements to our facility or storage or fermentation or drying area. So hence we still have these products here. We were unable to ship them from 2020, but we're slowly turning them into cacao nibs. So within the next 3 months we should have this building empty. Yeah.
All right, but you still have your history depicted here. I mean, you've still done your so that is what I'd like you to walk me through so that we can appreciate what are you exactly trying to show here. And my suggestion to you would be, hey, keep on bag the seeds somewhere maybe half open so that your visitors can come and actually play with it, you know, so that they could appreciate the history more. Yeah. You know, so it's not a bad idea to have some of these things around. Yeah. You know,
so right? That's exactly what we'll be doing here. If you notice,
let's look at it. Kylie could and I could understand what's going on. Come, Kylie.
Here you can see here, it refers to the god of sustenance. Kawil holds a bowl of cacao beans. This is from the ancient time, like what I explained earlier, from the past. The Mayas domesticated cacao and they learned the different uses of cacao. So, but they also use it as a means of sustenance in their livelihood. And so they have a god of sustenance.
So his name is Kawil.
Kawil. Yeah, that's the name. Then here, this is just introducing us to what we have here and what we talked about earlier about the tours and the production of chocolate demonstration thing. This is what it talks about. But if you notice here, Kyla asked about the different varieties of cacao. If you notice here, we have the red, the yellow, the longish, and the pointed tips. Yeah. That is because here in Belize, we have a mixture of Criollo, Trinitario, and Forastero type of cacao that we grow in this area. So that is what you see in this whole picture here, the different colors. The colors does matter, and some of these cacao also have different flavor, but because of the mixture, when we ferment and dry and turn it into chocolate, that is what makes it special for Belize cacao, and probably also it has probably a low cadmium content. So that is what put Belize in a better position, I would say. But we are yet to finalize that test as well, to ensure that that is exactly so. Like that. Yeah.
And in terms of taste, what's the difference between the different types of cacao?
Opening your raw cacao pods, some of them are sweet, very sweet. The pulp are very sweet, and some of them are somewhat sourish, like vinegar taste. And so you mix that up, then that gives you a far more better flavor in terms of fermenting your beans. Because for the making of chocolate, you have to ferment your beans, because that creates a more aroma flavor that adds up to the already existing high quality that we have here in Belize, like what Rene said. All right.
Okay, so moving along.
Here, you can see that the Toledo Cacao Growers Association, when we started in 1992 exporting of our cacao beans, we use this logo. It's a Mayan logo which reflects the cacao god of cacao. Wow. And so we use it in our export bag since
okay. So that's the
1990.
logo.
That's the logo. We use it on our bag to export, showing that this comes from the Toledo Cacao Growers Association.
And it's organic.
And it's organic.
No fertilizer.
No fertilizer.
Natural cacao.
Right. So when we first started exporting in the UK to our buyer in the UK in 1993, our first product received also the Fair Trade brand when they were branding for Fair Trade product to give third world producer a better deal.
Okay. I find your map here very interesting. Here, it shows the concentration of production, right? This is what you're talking about.
Exactly. This is, okay, if you notice, you have some pointers there, which indicates that these are the different areas where cacao is being produced here in, so, and traded, yeah.
Okay. Well, Belize is very active, no? That's parts of Honduras, of course, parts of Guatemala, Mexico. But we are doing, it's well concentrated in Belize.
Right, right.
All right, and then over here, Cacao Symbolism is the title of this view here.
Yeah, cacao, the Maya chocolate drink. Okay, here, whenever we break pod, us Mayas using cacao here, we don't ferment. We wash and dry, and then from there we roast the beans and we create our own chocolate drink from it. As I mentioned earlier, it's pure, inclusive fat and butter, cacao butter. So you mix that up with a little bit of black pepper. That gives you a better heating taste. Yeah. So that's it.
And it's delicious. I could testify that it's delicious.
Yes, yes. And our Mayan people out here still continue to use that in special occasions, like in marriage ceremonies and other festivities that they do. We continue to use that as well as part of our culture.
What's the reason for not fermenting the beans?
The reason for them is that I think it's easier, faster for them to dry it and store it. Yeah. But now, because of the commercialization of cacao and the creation of the aroma flavor for the chocolate processors, hence the reason we have to take at least 6 more days after harvesting, taking out the beans from the pod, then you put it in a sweat box, which we will be able to see later on in our storage and processing facility behind this building here.
So we move on now from the Maya chocolate drink, Cacao Symbolism, because cacao was used to symbolize water, darkness, and coolness. Grows best in cool, wet climates in the shade of other trees. You see? The ancient Maya expressed the association between cacao and water in figurines and carved panels, which depict crocodiles as cacao trees. Cacao was also used as a sacred ritual offering in caves. Now, interesting here, the cacao tree requires the shade of other trees to flourish, right?
Correct.
So that's also a sub-umbra floreo.
Exactly, that's a sub-umbra floreo. Cacao, as I mentioned, they were produced under high canopy shade.
Just like the mahogany needs the canopy to grow.
Yeah. But today, because of the introduction of Monilla, which is a deadly disease to cacao, which had its outbreak in 2004, we cannot grow cacao under high canopy shade. We have to thin our shade now.
But you still need the shade.
We still need a few shade, but not very much as compared to
in the past.
Now we have to do a lot of pruning on the tree. Before, you don't have to do those things. You just leave the tree to grow there, and it produce well, produce 100% pods on the tree. But now we are only producing like maybe 85% of the pod that we harvest from the tree because of the disease. But we have to do a lot more work.
But originally it flourished under the shade. Under the shade, yeah.
So this is our female farmer who also helped. When we say cacao production, it's a family-oriented type of activity. It includes men, women, and children at times. Yeah. But this is not introducing our families to child labor or our organization introducing child labor. This is because it's a family-type activity and it's a learning process. It's a family skill training for the younger generation. Nowadays, our kids go to school, feeling that they have job there to take up. It's not the case. What we're promoting now is we're telling our kids, go to school,
out the farm.
go to the farm,
That's right.
use your education on the farm. So this is what we're telling our farmers now.
I agree. And so continuing here down your, well, this one is in French apparently.
Well, this is
Spanish and English. Okay.
well,
Spanish
this
and
is more modernized type of chocolate processing. This is more on the chocolate processing side. So this is what we will be doing in the future, using equipments that are made for these type of purposes. Yeah.
The quality of cocoa beans. Once the beans have been fermented, an important stage in the development of the aromas of the chocolate, and dried, they are shipped to the factory to be transformed. In this case, like what you were saying, you're trying to get all that transformation done in Belize so that we can ship the finished product as against shipping just the raw beans.
Correct. We will ship not only the raw product, but also ship the final product, whether it's paste, chocolate bars, cocoa powder, etc. But
a lot of stuff here ready for shipping, though.
correct. But in addition to that, we're also creating employment
That's right.
to our people within the region. So it's a whole lot of different cycle that will eventually come on board, and then the farmers on the other end will also be receiving a better price when we start to do all of these operations.
The Toledo Cacao Growers Association works in 52 communities in the Toledo District. We get more details after we take a break to hear from our partners.
The Belize Natural Energy Charitable Trust, BNECT, celebrates 10 years of partnership with Restore Belize. Since 2012, the Trust has provided funding of over $401,000, which has positively impacted the lives of 118 students. The BNECT is Restore Belize's largest partner in the 4-year scholarship program that provides tuition, books, uniforms, tutoring, scholarship club membership, internship opportunities, and mentorship support. The Belize Natural Energy Charitable Trust, contributing to the education and empowerment of Belizeans.
We are the Barry, offering you great products, good service, and of course, the lowest prices in the entire country. Visit us in Belize City, Belmopan, Sa Ignacio Cayo, Orange Rock, and now in San Pedro, La Isla Bonita. The Barry. Get more? Piles.
Shell V-Power, with 3 times more cleaning and friction-reducing molecules. Go well. Go Shell.
The National Gas Company Limited was born of the need for the country of Belize to have a marine gas terminal of its own, thereby securing supplies of critical cooking gas for a growing population. As Belize's population grew, the time came for a modern marine gas terminal that ensured safety, security of supply, and the requisite infrastructure for industry-accepted quality assurance now demanded by the people of Belize. In 2020, the National Gas Company Limited became a reality. The National Gas Company Limited is a $60 million public-private partnership where Belize's private sector would design, finance, construct, and manage a state-of-the-art national marine terminal facility and 2 complementary storage depots away from the coast. After 15 years, the National Gas Company would be fully turned over to the country and people of Belize at no cost to the taxpayer.
The National Gas Company of Belize, fueling Belize forward.
It don't matter what part of the jewel they come from.
Here we have the cocoa beans already bagged into 75 pounds, ready for export. As you can see, we have our bags labeled. We are certified organic by IMO Cert. So before we ship, the beans must be placed in the appropriate bags, and each of them must be properly labeled, meaning we have a traceability in place so we can trace exactly where the beans came from. Yes. So this is how we pack our beans, and then we load it on a container, and it's sent either to the US or the EU for processing. And when it reaches on that end, then it turns into products like this. But as we indicated earlier, we want to do more of this stuff here within the next 18 months or so. Okay. As I said earlier, we're just in the early stages of that plan.
So when I go to the store and I buy the little sweet cacao pieces like that, hopefully it's a Belizean piece of thing that I'm eating, right?
Yeah, we will have those on the shelves in a store near you very soon, within 18 to 24 months' time.
Okay. Yeah. I see you have here, well, your bags are very well labeled, you know. Imosert or Imosert?
Imosert, yeah.
Imosert.
Yeah.
Imosert is who?
It's a certifying agent from Bolivia.
Okay.
Yes.
Okay, Imosert.
Recognized by the EU and the US market.
It says 100% organic fermented and dried cacao beans, produced and processed by Toledo Cacao Growers Association, George Price Street, Punta Gorda Town, Toledo, Belize, Central America. That's the office of this particular producer, right?
Correct. We have our main office in Punta Gorda Town. This is where our operations is carried out, mainly the fermenting, the drying, and so forth. We also have a satellite buying center in San Antonio and Mayamopan.
Okay.
Yes.
So you're well expanded throughout.
Right, right. Yes,
And then what else do you have over here? What are you showing me over here?
Just mainly a role about the TCG.
Okay.
This is what TCG does. It's a not-for-profit organization, like I mentioned earlier. It's formed in 1986, and it's mostly membered by Mupan and Kekchi farmers, but it's a mixture now. It's a different case. Some Spanish and some Garifuna are venturing into the production, some East Indians. Yeah, so this is just a photograph of our office in Punta Gorda, on that same street where you mentioned earlier.
Yeah, I think I've seen this office. I've not been in it, but I've seen it.
Yeah, so here it states that we have, I mentioned earlier, we had 700 active members, and it's within 52 communities in Stone Creek and Toledo District. Yeah. So this is just...
Let me just read this for those on radio. Today, the TGCA has more than 700 members spread throughout 52 communities in Toledo and Stone Creek districts of Belize. Most cacao farmers in Belize have small groves of trees, usually 2 acres or less, but all those small farms add up. Together, the Maya have more than 400,000 cacao trees in southern Belize. That's a lot. And then you're committed to improving the lives of women and minorities. More than 97% of TCGA member farmers are indigenous Mopan and Kekchi Maya. Approximately 60% of TCGA's business dealings are with women.
Oh. Correct.
Empowering women. As a cooperative organization, the TCGA was created to help coordinate marketing, provide credit to small farmers, distribute improved seedlings, and expand cacao production in southern Belize. The TCGA provides extension staff to assist farmers as well as to coordinate granting projects and help provide credit to farmers. The TCGA has grown into a central actor not only in agricultural development but also as a forum for indigenous voices on the national and international stage. I'm reading for those because this program is also broadcast on radio.
Correct.
Besides the video version of it.
Sure.
Right? So we have the gentleman here doing a...
Yeah, this is Mr. Luciano Shaw from San Antonio. He is one of our largest growers. He has 35 acres overall. Annually, he would produce around 4 to 5 metric tons of dry fermented cacao beans. Okay. Yes.
Luciano Shaw.
Mr. Luciano Shaw, he is one of our model farmers, and he's a member of our working group.
Moving along here, we have cacao in Belize. Okay, that's this is how it's grown from seed to tree, right?
Right. Here you break a pod and you take out your seeds from the pod, but normally you take out that end piece and the other end piece. You only use the central area to select your seed from, and that is what you take to the nursery to place in your seed bag.
Okay.
That is what these guys were doing and taking care of
So you will take the seed and put it in a seed bag,
and it will germinate within a week, and then ready for transplanting within the next 3 months. But if you're grafting, then you graft your seedlings by the age of 3 months, and then you transplant the grafted tree by the age of 6 months. So here, if we say we're growing cacao from seeds to tree, it will have a lifespan of 80 years. It won't reach its maturity stage of production until the 10th year. It starts to produce 4 years. It continues getting mature up to the 10th year. Then you have a fully mature tree producing, and it will produce for you for up to 80 years, depending on your management. So
80 years?
80 years. So cacao is like a bank to most of the farmers who are producing cacao here. Every year they know that they will generate some form of income for them to sustain their family, to provide for the family, whether it's education, medical needs, or housing purposes. They will be able to use that income from their cacao source.
Then I see grafting being done here. It's in the 3rd month the seedling is ready to graft. Grafting is the surgical placing of selected plant material, but cutting from one superior traits plant to another for highest yields or disease resistance, color, flavor, etc.
So in 2007, 2008, the Toledo Cacao Growers Association has collaborated with the Central American Cacao Project, which were promoting tolerant variety of cacao to be grown in Belize and other 5 other Central American countries. So this is one example here where they have introduced the grafting method of producing cacao or establishing cacao farm. The difference between the grafted tree is that every tree you plant on your farmland will produce because you're getting a highly producing branch that you will adapt to that new tree. So you will have every single tree that you plant on your farm will be producing, and it will start to produce within 3 years. And 3 years you will get a bulk of production from that tree. It's compared to the seeds to tree. The seeds to tree now, it will take a couple years before it becomes fully mature in production. But the grafted one, because you are taking a highly producing branch to adapt to a new tree, then that in 3 years you will get a heavy production. But the difference then there is that the grafted tree will only last you 30 years in good production.
While the authentic tree will last you the full 80 years.
Yeah, that's the difference.
So with the grafted tree, you have to keep repeating and keep planting.
Exactly.
So it's now we have gone seed selection, nursery, grafting to planting. Right? And we discussed planting just now, the difference between the grafted and the other, the natural one.
Yes.
Right? And then now management and care.
Well, management and care, the farmer needs to clean their farm every 3 months or 4 months per year. And then also now because of the disease, the entrance of moniliasis disease, then the farmer need to go in there and prune. And this is what this farmer is doing now. He is using his pruning shears to cut down some of the branches of the tree so that it produces new branches, and then the farmer will avoid overlapping of the trees together, because the trees are planted 10 by 10 in the past, but now because of the entrance of Monilia, we've recommended to farmers that they should plant at least 12 by 12 to give it a lot more spacing so that it gives you a lesser pruning difficulties.
So for those, management of cacao trees is important to increasing yields. Shrubs and vines growing on trees should be eliminated. Cacao grows under shade. Shade should be managed at 60% minimum. So planting timber trees, select fruit trees, and nitrogen-fixing trees will help provide shade, replenish soils and income, pruning of excess branches and chupons for high management. Chupons are the little thing, right suck on the
red sucker.
Yeah, the red sucker will suck out the
water from the
plant. Yeah, chupons for height management are also important to production increase. And then the harvesting and fermentation. Always you're saying only ripe, healthy cacao pods should be harvested. Harvesting can be done every 2 weeks, depending on availability of ripe pods.
Yeah. So as you can see here, the ripe pod has turned yellow, And that is what the farmer harvests.
So you won't
This is
bother with the green one?
you don't harvest the green one. You will come back another 2 weeks to harvest this one once they get ripe. So this is how you would harvest. Use a harvesting knife. This is actually me.
That's you?
That's me speaking. Now.
You were a young boy there, man.
I was young. I have 40 years of experience in cacao production.
Wow.
And with the TCJ, I was elected in 1992 the first time. Then I left TCJ in 1997. Then I came back on board in 2003. Then I came back in 2017. I was elected out 2010. So this is my third time coming to assist with the work of TCJ.
40 years experience. And then you go here for fermentation, right?
This is after fermenting. This is sun drying.
After fermentation.
Yeah.
Yeah. And so you set it out in the open and you dry, and the sun dries it, right?
The sun dries it. You put it on a probably a concrete padding or a tarp, or the way we do it now, we have a drying deck, so which you will be able to see later.
Okay, let me just read it quickly here so folks and radio can appreciate. After fermentation, cacao beans are then dried for another 6 days. 6 days! Yeah, once fully dried, cacao beans are sieved, checked for quality, packed in bags, and stored above ground in a cool, dry place. Beans are extracted and placed in a wooden fermentation box. Well, that's the fermentation process. The beans should be covered and turned every day for 6 days. So it's another 6 days of fermentation.
Yeah. Correct.
You want to ask?
The time before, you mentioned no fermentation for something, and then now we have fermentation. Could you please clarify why that time you didn't have any fermentation and now we have fermentation?
Okay. I think I mentioned earlier in my message that the Mayas use pure butter and the fat to make their drink, and they wash that beans to make that type of drink. But the fermentation process now is to give the cacao beans a more aroma flavor for the making of chocolate. Okay. It's for the chocolatiers who are into the processing of chocolate to give it a more better flavor. Okay. Because using the pulp as a mixture there to heat up to create some kind of bacterial reaction in that sweat box, that is what gives the cacao beans a better flavor. Then it's roasted, which we will see in a while.
Okay, let's go to the harvesting, fermentation, drying, roasting, grinding, and winnowing.
In the past, harvesting, we mentioned earlier that we harvest every 2 weeks or every week, depending on the size of your farm. And this is how farmer would harvest and put them in a bucket before they put them in the sack for them to transport.
December and peaking in March and April, right?
Yeah.
You're saying?
Yep. When harvesting, the farmers need to place the seeds in an approved storage area, whether it be a bag or a container. So they are recommended bags and buckets that the farmers use, so they cannot just use any other container. Yes, and with the harvest time, we do have an early season, the small one, like from November, December, but the peak season starts from mid-March to May. That's where you get 60% of the production.
Oh, nice.
One of the villages in Toledo is San Jose. They are the main cacao producer. Approximately 75% of the production comes from that village.
San Jose? That's where you live?
Yes. That's where I live.
No wonder you've been listening for 40 years, man. San Jose. All right.
Then after it's harvested, placed in the fermentation box, then sun-dry it. Then after it's sun-dried, roasting.
Okay.
The ancient Mayas and Mayas of the present roast it on a hot comal, iron thing. And then this is our traditional woman here who is displaying how they grind the cacao using a matate or a grinding stone, and then before it's made into the drink.
Let me just read this for folks listening. In Belize, the harvesting of cacao begins in December, peaking in March and April. Ripe pods are pulled from the trees and broken in the farm with a stick or machete so that the fruit and seeds can be carried home. That's the harvesting. Fermentation. Farmers place cacao seeds and fruit into a fermenting box for 5 to 7 days. As the fruit begins to rot, naturally occurring yeasts and bacteria transform the cacao seeds from acidic slaty purple into a cracked brown with a rich chocolatey flavor. And drying is the other step. Drying is an important step to stop the fermentation process and prevent mold. Cacao beans are dried in the sun for 7 to 14 days until they reach 6 to 8% moisture content. Dried cacao beans can be stored for a year or more before being used. And then we go to the roasting. After the seeds are dried, the cacao is roasted in an oven at 275 to 300 Fahrenheit or 135 to 150 centigrade. Roasting helps give the chocolate its flavor and aroma. Shorter roasting times, 15 to 20 minutes, produce fruity flavors, while longer roasting times of 30 to 40 minutes result in a darker flavor. Then there's the grinding and winnowing. Once the roasting process is complete, the cacao seeds are then crushed and winnowed or threshed. This allows the chaff of the cacao seeds skin can be removed, leaving only the broken nibs, which are used in the chocolate making process. So that's when you export the nibs, right? That's what you're talking about. Then you said here, oil pressing and cocoa powder. Cacao nibs are ground, pressed into a fine paste called cocoa liqueur. Cocoa liqueur can be further refined into ingredients like cocoa butter and cocoa powder. So that's the oil out of this, the seed, the cacao itself, right?
Right.
And the chocolate is really the pulp.
From the powder. From the powder.
Yes.
So these are the steps into the value chain, but there has been some changes in the dynamics over the last 10 years, as Mr. Peck mentioned when we had the entrance of the competition. This is still relevant on the farm. The farmers are doing that. But when it comes to the fermentation and drying now, like 95 of the farmers are now selling their beans in wet form. We have a centralized fermentation and drying area now.
Okay.
Yes, so it's in our hands, and then.
But the process is still done, even though it's not, the farmer is not doing it, but the fact is that the process is still done before it ends up in these sacks.
And before, the last step for us was the drying and bagging, but now we are doing this step and the grinding and winnowing. So as I indicated earlier, we're still in the early stages. The next step for us would be to do the oil pressing, the powder, and the other finished products. So we're going like one step at a time.
Yeah. So after we finish the tour, we come back to exactly indicate what do we mean by coming to this end here, what we want to achieve in the longer run. Yeah.
So we have left the building, and we're in the yard, but where are you taking me?
We're now heading to our processing area, where we do the fermentation, the drying, the roasting, the winnowing, and of course our visitor storage area.
So you're taking me to see the work that you do before it ends up in those sacks that I'm seeing in there.
That's right.
Okay.
Yes.
All right, let's go then. Let's walk and let's go.
So as indicated earlier, this is 10 acres. Before, we only had this Maya house. So in early 2020, first quarter, we began construction. We now have a 2,400 square feet facility there that houses our fermentation, our processing area, and our storage facility. Yes. So as I said, we are making improvements so that we could have a product that is based on quality for the export market. So hence we are making those changes. And as I said, we want to take the industry in a different direction. So I have a question for you. Based on the tour in that building, where are we now?
You are in the nursery. This is where you nurture the plants because you have the shade over you. You have this canopy over you.
Well,
so
correct.
Plants, they flourish under the shade.
You answered correctly. So Mr. Peck will have to accommodate you next time with some local chicken, caldo. So that will be your prize.
I'll hold Mr. Peck to that. Mr. Peck, I like a good caldo.
Sure.
All right?
My wife is the best cooker of caldo. Yes, so you will be able to enjoy that.
I'll hold to that when I come next time.
Yes.
And the next time you come here, probably in November, or maybe earlier than that. It all depends. In November, we're thinking of conducting our Cacao Fest, like what we used to do before. Now we're holding it here. We want to do it here in this compound. This is our new area. We have our main office is in town where we used to operate with the other satellite buying center, but this will be our major production area and processing.
And you reminded me that basically I met you some years ago in a cacao fest downtown
Right.
in Punta Gorda.
Right. We have met already, Mr. Villanueva. We have met already. So it's nice having you back here.
Yeah.
And now you're not on top of that balcony there,
Yeah.
but you're in a nursery area now,
Very
where
good.
cacao starts.
Right.
So,
So
Orlando.
that's how it starts.
Yeah, so this is how cacao starts. This is indicated earlier. You would place the seed into a bag. So here we have plants that are 2 months old. See, we have this
Yeah,
plants,
2 months old
2
plant.
months old plant. Yeah. So we have about 600 plants remaining here. This nursery has a capacity of 8,000 plants.
8,000.
Yes, we should have had everything full now, but due to COVID, we're having some difficulty sourcing planting bags. So we expect to get some bags until like within 2 weeks' time. So we will have some plants here to distribute to our members, and then some for sale. And then we're also doing some other. We have anato there. We want to plant other crops and trees. We have anato, we have teak, we have mahogany there. We're planting some banana, plantain, male apple, other fruit trees. So if you timber trees. So if you can see to the back there, we're clearing some more area. We just planted like 200 plantain to the back there.
Okay.
So we will also plant some cacao there for research and research purposes.
Interesting.
Yes,
So this is very good.
Yes, because under the IDB project, like 6 years ago, we have identified some high-yielding trees from key growers. So we will bring those varieties here for monitoring so that we can propagate them.
It's good to see you recovering after the COVID pandemic, because that sure affected all of us, for sure. It's good to see you doing the best you can to bounce back after that. So I know it's a lot of hard work that goes into that sort of thing.
We're definitely trying. So this is our like third year having this nursery, but then it's for this year it's a bit okay compared to the previous 2 years because we had challenges with the water. But thanks to the Minister Ukena, he provided us with a well, so now we have solved our water problem here on this compound.
Okay.
Yes.
A tree like this, how much would a cacao tree like this sell for?
We sell it for $1.50.
You're kidding?
Yeah.
$1.50 for the cacao tree?
Yes.
Hold on, like.
The grafted one is for $4.
Okay. So,
From seeds, it's $1.50.
see, I got $3.
Yeah.
Kidding. Yeah. No, but that's very good. So your members will get this for $1.50 and they get the other one for $4. They would get that tree later.
That's right.
That's to the public or only to your members?
For the public.
Okay.
Yeah.
Wow.
Yes.
So,
But when we do have certain like projects, some of our members would get seedlings for free.
excellent.
Like for example, we had the Asika project from 2019 to 2020. We distributed some seedlings to the growers, and we established like 30 acres additionally.
Oh,
Yes.
interesting.
And one of the main focus right now is that if we are to do that, that is because we want to attract the younger generation. Because our farmers at present, like my age and other farmers, are older folks. We want to bring in our younger generation to venture into this type of farming, because this generates income, and if we add value to what we are doing here, then it will be better in the future.
Talking about generating income, what would be the income for someone if they sell you a sack of dried beans already? What's the going price for?
100 pound of dry fermented beans. We usually buy it from farmer at $3.60 before, but because of the pandemic, we brought our price to like $3.15. $3.15. That's $315 for a bag of dry fermented beans.
So each bag of dry fermented beans would fetch a farmer $315. And what more or less would go into production to achieve a bag of fermented beans?
From an acre, you can get like 4 bags or so. Yeah. Four bags of dry beans.
So you
From an acre. So you're looking at like from minimum $1,000 to like $1,500 per acre. The returns per acre.
Okay.
Just from the cacao itself, because most of the farmers have other fruit trees from the farm that they also sell this. So for example, they have lime, they have male apple, they have grown fruits, especially turmerics. So they have a return within that acreage, maybe or minimum $2,000.
I could see that because you'll have to plant taller trees, fruit trees or other trees, so the cacao can grow under them, under these. And then you can also plant other stuff around the cacao. So you can really, from an acre land, like you were saying, you can get a lot of stuff.
Yes, yes. And this is something very important that the farmers need to understand, because some of the farmers would say, I want $5 for my pound of beans, and they might be only producing like 100 pounds of beans for the year. So it's all about the returns. Yeah, because out there, the market is very competitive, because we have West Africa that's producing cacao far more cheaper than what the farmers here are getting. Because out there, the farmers are getting just like 90 cents Belize a pound for the dry cacao beans. Meanwhile, here they're getting over $3 a pound. So you see that big difference.
Big difference.
Yes.
90 cents or $3. Big difference. All right.
We will be back with more from our visit with Chairman of the Toledo Cacao Growers Association, Justino Peck, and Manager Orlando Koch, after we hear from our partners, Belize Natural Energy Charitable Trust, the Barry, Shell Belize, and the National Gas Company.
The Belize Natural Energy Charitable Trust, BNECT, celebrates 10 years of partnership with Restore Belize. Since 2012, the Trust has provided funding of over $401,000, which has positively impacted the lives of 118 students. The BNECT is Restore Belize's largest partner in the 4-year scholarship program that provides tuition, books, uniforms, tutoring, scholarship club membership, internship opportunities, and mentorship support. The Belize Natural Energy Charitable Trust, contributing to the education and empowerment of Belizeans.
We are the Barry, offering you great products, good service, and of course, the lowest prices in the entire country. Visit us in Belize City, Belmopan, San Ignacio Cayo, Honduras, and now in San Pedro, La Isla Bonita. The Barry. Get more? Be less.
Shell V Power, with 3 times more cleaning and friction reducing molecules. Go well. Go Shell.
The National Gas Company Limited was born of the need for the country of Belize to have a marine gas terminal of its own, thereby securing supplies of critical cooking gas for a growing population. As Belize's population grew, the time came for a modern marine gas terminal that ensured safety, security of supply, and the requisite infrastructure for industry-accepted quality assurance now demanded by the people of Belize. In 2020, the National Gas Company Limited became a reality. The National Gas Company Limited is a $60 million public-private partnership where Belize's private sector would design, finance, construct, and manage a state-of-the-art national marine terminal facility and 2 complementary storage depots away from the coast. After 15 years, the National Gas Company would be fully turned over to the country and people of Belize at no cost to the taxpayer.
The National Gas Company of Belize, fueling Belize forward.
It don't matter what part of the jewel they come from.
So now we're going to the fermentation area.
Oh, let's go ferment. Let me put back your tree because we have approached the fermentation area.
That's correct.
So
we have 5 zones, 5 buying zones. Before this crop starts, we'll go to the villages to host community meetings with the growers to arrange the buying schedule. So we usually go out early in the mornings to collect the beans from them. We'd send a truck. Now the truck could bring up to like 6,000 pounds of wet beans. So this is where we come in. The guys do the quality checks here and place the beans in the boxes. So, as I said, this is our newly improved fermentation area.
Newly improved fermentation area.
It's still a work in process because we still have our drainage to do and other stuff to put up here.
So where are we now?
The fermentation area.
Okay.
So within this building, we could process 42,000 wet pounds of cacao on a weekly basis.
2,000 wet pounds of cacao.
Yes, that's our capacity here. We have boxes for conventional and organic cacao beans. As you can see, we have the boxes labeled. So if you deliver 1,000 pounds, we'll place your beans in a box. These boxes could hold from 1,000 to one minimum to like 1,500 the max.
Okay.
So if the beans is made comprised of like from 5 farmers, so we'll have that traceability.
Okay.
So
all these boxes would hold different.
Like 1,500. Those small ones could hold 500. Yes.
What's the difference between the organic and the conventional?
Organic are those beans from farmers who are participating under our organic program, because as I said, we are certified by EMA-Cert. So in order for us to get our certification, we need to inspect the fields every year, twice every year, and then get external inspection from someone outside from the certifying body to see if the farms are in compliance with the organic regulations. But again, to obtain organic certification, you need to pay a fee. The more growers you have on the list, the price increase. So we tend to have only the large growers on the list, and we buy from the small growers and classify their beans as conventional, but still produced in an organic way. They're not using chemicals, and we sell those beans locally. Yes, for the local market. So this is where we place the beans, stays here for 6 days. Once that process is complete, the guys will turn the beans every 2 days, but it's just unfortunate that you came late because
You don't know what the beans are already.
the crop is over. Okay. So the crop will start again until November. So once the process is complete here, we go to the drying section.
Okay, let's head there then.
Yeah. So once the fermentation process is complete, and the beans were fermented properly, within the 6 days, they are brought here. This is the drying process. So once we have good weather, it will require 5 to 6 days minimum to sun dry the beans. Yeah. But if we have bad weather, then it can take up to like 2 weeks. So here, Chief, we have these rakes. Let me get a rake, Chris, that the guys use to turn the beans, so you could have some fun raking the beans.
Oh yeah, man, we could rake beans a little bit. Let's just.
So we would rake the beans every 50 minutes while on the deck, and these decks have a capacity of 2,000 wet pounds.
Okay.
Yeah, so during the drying process, we do quality checks known as the cut test. So we have our guillotine here. So we have this.
They just go while we're doing this, right?
Yes, every 15 minutes we'll do that.
And how you know when you're ready?
You can hear the sound, and then we also do the cut test. So here, you can grab some beans, Chief.
Okay. What do I put it there?
Put it here in these lots. We take 50 beans.
Because I don't check one already, no? So I peel off one already?
Yes, but we want to see the middle part of it, if it has that brownish part.
Okay.
If it has been properly dried.
Would you say this one is properly dried?
Yes. It is. Okay.
All right. So what is this called?
We're doing the cut test. We're doing the cut test here.
Oh, you're cutting that. You're cutting. That's a cutter. Yeah.
Yes.
They cut through the bean. You cut through the bean and cut the bean in two.
Correct.
And then you look at the middle and then you realize it's finished. See, there it is.
See, here it is.
So that's quite ready. Some of them.
See, this is, we have one under fermented beans.
This under fermented.
Two.
This one is okay though.
Yeah, no,
These are okay.
yeah. So 3. So we have about 90% fermentation here. So this is good.
That's much better than doing this, right?
Yes, much better.
Yeah. You'd have to do this.
Correct.
So doing that is much better. Paul, you could imagine You could give Paul a job here for just so long and okay, this one not ready yet. This one not ready yet.
Whenever this process takes place, we're looking for three things. Before you store your beans in your bag ready for shipping, we look for the quality of the fermenting. If you have all fermented beans with very few purple beans, that's great. For example, here, probably we only have about 3 unfermented beans. You see the purple beans? That's unfermented. All the brown ones are fermented, which has a good quality. The second thing you look for is moldiness. Before you package your product, you check for moldiness. Mold is caused by a fungus, and it enters the inside of the beans, and it causes some white looking stuff inside, and you have 3 of that, you're still okay. You have 6 of that, your quality is bad, you cannot export that. Okay. Then the third thing is the moisture content. You have to have 5 to 6% moisture content in your product before you store it. All right, so that's the purpose of this process here.
There's a whole lot of beans out here. How many pounds you more or less you have out here on these tables right now? About 1,200 pounds of beans drying right now. Right.
So once this step is completed, the next step would be to sieve the beans. You see these particles here? So we would have the guys run it through a sieve. So we only get the beans. And then we would hand sort. We would select all the shriveled beans. For example, these small beans here, we cannot export these. Yeah. We only export the big size beans. Okay. And at the moment, we're only getting like 75% of the big beans, so we stay at like 25%. So we just sell for it locally, because it's very difficult to roast this type of small beans. It's easier to roast uniform size beans. Yes. So like I said before, we're only doing this step, bag it, and then export. But now we are doing the roasting, so we'll just go in there, have like an extra 3 more minutes to
so will be bagged and then roast it. Yes. So we take this in there. Okay.
Yeah. So this is our processing area. I said we are doing the nib making now. So before we get the nibs, we have to roast the beans. Okay. So after it's dried, the guys would get the bagged beans, and then they place it on trays. Here we have one of our guys. He can explain to us more what he's doing. Marcos, can you explain?
What are you doing here?
This is the process of roasting the cacao beans. So we place them in the trays. We level it at the amount that the machine could roast. Okay. Yeah, and every machine takes a 35 pound each. Okay. So we have 2 machines right here. That's a total of 70 pounds. And
how long will you keep them roasting?
Those machines are for 20 minutes at 120 degrees Celsius for 20 minutes. Yep. That's how we keep the roasting of the cacao beans. And after the roasting, we take like 45 minutes of the cooling, and then straight to the cracking of the cacao beans.
It cools on its own, right? It cools on its own. You don't necessarily cool it, cool it. You don't force cool. It cools on its own.
Sometimes you use the fan to make the process go more faster. Yeah. And from out there we have the cracker of the beans, the machine.
Yeah. So let's go here. After it comes out of the oven there, then it's taken over, put place there, and then let's go. Well, yeah, the cell can be removed. Peter? Okay, let's see what it is.
Hello.
What are you doing here?
Good evening. This is the machine we use to crack the beans, and it turns it into nibs down there. Yeah. Yeah. It's just basically we pour the beans in here, and I usually use this object to steer inside for it to easily go down. Yeah, then.
And that makes the nibs.
Yeah, that's right.
What happens to the outer shell? You're cracking it for the nibs, but what happens to the outer shell?
The other container. Yeah, it's separated. It is separated.
So you do an automatic separation from here. Yeah. So there's no need to go through a pan and try to separate it. Right. Okay.
Yeah.
The machine does that. Yeah. Okay, interesting. All right. Well, thank you.
Thank you.
Chocolate nibs, delicious, delicious, delicious. Right? And so you're telling me that this is what you have for export?
Yes, we have a container ready destined for the U.S. market within the next 3 weeks. So we're preparing the second container.
Okay.
Yeah.
But these nibs are delicious as it is, man. I would sit down here.
You're free to stay. You're welcome.
Yeah, thank you.
Yeah.
Thank you. Delicious chocolate. You enjoy chocolate, Kylie?
Yes, very delicious.
Okay. I will eat some more right now.
Okay.
I'm sorry. But there we go.
If you notice, Rene, this is our new storage facility, which was implemented by us through the funds from Asika Folk. Asika Folk funded us this building and Australian aid with the section doing the fermentation area. So you see how this setting is right now compared to the ones at my house. That is not properly stored there. But this will be the way forward. We will store whatever product, whether it's raw, whether it's semi-final, or whether it's box package in chocolate form. This is how it will look. So we're improving our processing area, and that will put us better in the future.
Yeah, excellent. Well, I thoroughly enjoyed my tour here, my chocolate nibs and everything, you know, and going through the entire process with you gentlemen. Well, I certainly had a good time here at the Maya House of Cacao. That's right. I had a good time at the Maya House of Cacao. Let me thank you all so very much for entertaining us here. You said you have been a farmer of cacao for 40 years. How old were you when you started?
Started at the age of 22, Rene.
What made you start to do cacao production?
I was first teaching at primary school for the first 3 years in my life, and then after that I resigned. Just after resigning, I decided to go into cacao production because it was around that time when the Ministry of Agriculture and Government of Belize started indicating that they will want to do the bringing back of cacao industry for the Toledo District and part of South Sand Creek District. So it is right there I started to form a group among my brothers, and then we started planting cacao.
Okay. And then it blossomed into this Cacao Growers Association.
Well, yes. Why that happened is because the Tampaita project, which was promoting the commercialization of cacao, which is a USAID-funded project, with the Ministry of Agriculture, they were helping in marketing cacao for the farmers who already exist at the time, because it was Hershey who was buying. Hershey had its branch operation at Hummingbird Hershey right now. That is where Hershey was, and they were buying cacao from farmers at the time. So it was Tampaita project, which helped farmers in the area to market their cacao there, but at the same time forming this organization. So it was during that time there was a set of board of directors that was elected when the association was registered with only 24 members. And so I took over the association in 1992 when Hershey decided to reduce its price to its growers, or to the growers here in this area, to 50 cents Belize dollar for a pound of dry fermented beans. A lot of our farmers decided to abandon their farm, but I was the one that stood up and said, we cannot let this industry go down. We have to push. And so I was elected chairman of the association in July of 1992. So in 1993, we were able to locate a market in the UK called the Whole Earth Foods Company Limited, which imported our raw cocoa product to be processed in Italy and then marketed throughout the UK market and part of the US and into Belize as well, as we mentioned earlier. Yeah, that was what made me to being here now. So while 40 years of experience growing cacao, I am also had some experience working as the chairman of the association for the past few years.
All right. And what about my good friend over here? What about my good friend Orlando? How did you get connected with cacao?
My family has been to the cacao production for the last 15 years or so. So after completing my studies at Galen, I got a job with the TCG as a project accountant for the IDB project since 2013, and that project was for 3 years. And from since then, I went to work with the banana growers, and then when the new board was elected, I was brought over to assist them. That's how I'm with TCG now.
Okay. And how was the experience at Galen studying?
It was a very good one. And it helped me to reach where I am today.
Okay.
Yeah.
All right. It's good to hear that. Now, the future. You've moved from not adding the value to it to adding some value to it by producing the nibs, right? And in some cases, the finished product.
Right.
Now, where is the future of this growing industry?
Well, Rene and Avadias and Kylie, I want to say that now that we are moving in this direction of adding value to our product, last year we have shipped a container of semi-final product, which is called the nibs, and this year we're shipping another container, but we're not stopping there. Last 2 years we have submitted a concept note to the Caribbean Development Bank for funding to construct a facility to house processing equipment for the Toledo Cacao Growers Association and the Maya House of Cacao and Chocolate Company Limited, which will be the business arm of the Toledo Cacao Growers Association. We were approved last October, and we launched that project in February of this year. So we're in the stage of signing a contract with architecture to design for us behind this building here, behind us, which will be attached to this building, which we'll call a food grade facility, which we want to build there, so that it will be certified and for us, we will be able to access international market through that operation. So we'll be purchasing some equipments to do further processing compared to what we saw out there, just the roasting and the cracking. So we will have some grinding machines and some tempering machines very soon, within the next 18 or 24 months now, I guess, Orlando? 18 months. We should have that in place. And from there, then we will start to process chocolate powder, butter, chocolate, and other product from cacao.
Well, gentlemen, I want to thank you so much for hosting us here today, and I want to wish you all the very best. Anything you want to say, Kylie?
Yes, I enjoyed my experience learning about the different stages and steps of cacao, and I'm excited to see your growth and development through these coming months.
Thank you very much too, and we look forward to seeing you back when we have this facility up and covering another phase of our operation within the next 24 months, I would say.
And talking about phase of operation, our phase of operation here in the Toledo District is Paul Mahong. So, Paul, your comments.
Chief, thank you very much. I just want to...
Hold the mic, Paul.
Chief, thank you very much. I just wanted to reemphasize gratitude on behalf of the Belize Watch team. That's Chris, that's Miss Ava, Nelly, Kylie, and yourself, Chief. When Miss Ava called me some weeks ago and said, look, we are coming back to Toledo, and with her expertise in planning and management, I had to get on the ball immediately. And one of the first thoughts was Maya House of Cacao. And I got in touch with Mr. Orlando Koch, very receptive, Mr. Peck, extremely receptive. And so Orlando, Mr. Orlando Koch, Mr. Justino Peck, gratitude. And that goes with prayers and guidance in your very important role on the Toledo Cacao Growers Association, and along with your board and all the hundreds of cacao farmers in Toledo. We live in my heart with praise and gratitude for all you've been doing.
Thank you, Paul. And growing cacao is love, right? That I love. You have to love what you love. What you're doing. You love doing what you're doing, right?
Exactly.
You know.
Well, Rene and your team, thank you very much for being here with us to cover what needs to be covered with your technical team. I just want to send a clear message to our farmers that we are speaking on their behalf. And also, as I'm speaking now, I'm also speaking on behalf of my board, because without my board's support, I wouldn't be here. And without my board's input, I cannot continue to move. And most importantly, our manager, Orlando, he's instrumental in being side to side on a day-to-day basis. So, and this is what brings to where we are now with the operation we're doing for the Toledo Cacao Growers Association. Thank you very much, Rene. Thank you very much, Paul. Thank you very much, Ava and Kylie. And the film technician, Chris.
All right. And having said that, you know, we already established that it's all about love. And so the choice is ours. And we always choose to do what we love to do. And so when we choose to do what we love to do, we say, Belize and beyond. Thanks for choosing love. Belize Watch. Knowledge of the past, impacting the present, building the future.
Celebration time. It don't matter what part of the jewel you come from. You and me. But guess what? All are we the one.